What, did you bring any ghosts back with you from Ghostland?
From good old Salem? No,
Salem?
but I had a weird moment one night. Yeah, that's all I'm going to say about it.
Succubus?
I wish, you know what I mean? No, that's A-okay in my book. Yeah, I couldn't sleep one night. I just had a case of the shivers, and I just couldn't stop it.
You were shivering? You
but I wasn't
literally
cold.
were shivering?
I was literally shaking on the bed, and I couldn't stop for like 45 minutes. I don't know.
Has that ever happened to you in your life before?
No, it has not, Dan. No, it has not. But I'm sure it's just something. I'm sure it was just something with my spinal cord falling apart. Probably. Let's be honest. I'm getting old.
Probably cancer.
It's probably cancer and death. What are you gonna do?
Not a ghost. Actually, just me. Just my body dying.
Hey, watch him! With Dan and Tony! Hey, watch him! With Dan and Tony! It's like watching, yeah!
Welcome to Hate Watching with Dan and Tony. I'm Dan.
I'm Tony.
And we're just a couple of idiots who idiot around on the internet once a week, and we talk about movies because if there's one thing people don't give enough opinions about, it's movies. Man, maybe we should start we should probably start a politics, because I'm sure we have a lot to add to politics too.
I would say just about as much. Yeah, I know just as much about politics and movies, which is to say nothing.
So each week we pick a movie. This week I get to pick the movie, and since we're still in a Halloween frame of mind,
we are. It's the mood.
I picked a movie we've meant to do for a long time, or at least I've thought about it a number of times. Book of Shadows, Blair Witch 2.
Great.
Year 2000, hour and 30 minutes, 5 minutes of credits. So it's an hour and 25 minutes. Long.
Sure. But, oh boy.
Lots happens. Lots happens. Sort of. Sort of lots happens. Sort of not lots happens.
Because there are two movies in here, Dan.
That's it?
Yes, there are two movies in here. One of them is the director's movie, and one of them is the studio's movie. And we're going to have some fun today because this, to me, Dan, this is the most interesting movie we've done so far on this show.
Now, do you really think that the director made this movie? He's a documentarian dude. They brought him in because the guys that made the real Blair Witch movie, they weren't ready. And so Asylum brought him in. Was it Asylum? Is that what it's called?
Artisan?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Some A word. They brought in this guy,
this
documentary guy, and so he hired a bunch of actors that had no ability to act. Then he made a book.
Whoa. One, I agree. The acting is suspect. I'm not going to argue with you other than Jeffrey Donovan goes on to some great stuff. And I laughed so hard when he came up on screen right away. I was like, holy shit, this guy. Humble beginnings, as they say.
Who's he? Is he the guy that plays Jeff?
Well, Jeff plays Jeff. They all use their real names. Because that's a carryover from the first movie, which leads into what one of the things we're talking about is the studios wanted a more direct follow-up to the Blair Witch. They just wanted another documentary crew to go in the woods, get lost, get murdered, Yep. And Joe was not interested in that.
Yep. So he made a movie where that happens, but they just cut it differently. And so it's even worse than the movie did you watch the director's cut?
It doesn't exist.
Someone's made it.
So a fan has made a fan cut of the director's cut. Yes.
Yeah.
Did I watch it? No. I would love to, because I believe there is a good movie in here. Not a great movie because it is held down by the acting 100%. I can't argue it. However, what I will say is that the direction was to be campy. That was the idea. They don't pull it off, but I understand what they're going for.
See, Tony,
you know what I mean?
I think you were looking for the magic movie that could exist in this movie that was neither made nor cut together.
I disagree. I think it was made. The idea of this movie is incredible.
What's the idea? What's the idea of this movie?
The idea of this movie is to make a criticism on people loving the media. Like, that's what it is. It's a satire on the people who fell for the first one. You know what I mean? Like, people believed Blair Witch 1 was real and were somehow going to the movie theaters to watch real children die. I don't even understand how we fell for it. I totally fell for it. Let me be very clear. I was like, holy shit, is this real? Oh, I got to get on the internet. Oh. Those were wild times. But the movie that he wanted to make was a satire of those people going into the woods, and then the ambiguity of, oh, wait, is it real? Is it real? Because these people, did they go mad, or did the media make, like, was it what's the word that you used before? Like a group hysteria?
Oh, mass hysteria. Sure.
That's the word. Yeah. And like, so the movie is supposed to leave you wondering, are they bad? Does the witch exist? Was it all like a group delusion? And this, what we got, doesn't do that, obviously. But I would argue, if you watch this movie in the order that it's supposed to be in, without the reshoots, it would be a good movie. Imagine a movie that, one, they didn't kill the other group of people. That is nonsense. That is stupid. That should not be in this movie.
Sure. I'll set that aside for now.
Take out all of that, and also remove... oh, yeah, sorry.
Let's just basically, we have these people that are in the Blair Witch town. They go out to the Blair Witch site. They all black out. Then when they wake up, they're like, what happened? Then they go back into town. They go to the guy leading the tour. They go to his place, and then they all go
abandoned warehouse. I don't know.
They all go crazy and kill each other for no reason.
Well, they don't kill everybody. They kill the one that they believe is the witch, and then the actual witch.
And wait, they killed 3 people. I thought
they killed 3. I thought they just killed the two girls.
They killed the 2 girls. Oh, I guess the one also had a miscarriage in the midst of all this.
Yeah, that's I don't.
Yeah.
Oh,
so you think that in there is sort of drug? Oh no! And what's her name? Kills the clerk at the store with.
Oh yeah, you're right. You're right.
With the thing for
you're
no
absolutely
reason.
Right. Yep,
and
you're right.
Doesn't remember it. So everybody kills people, doesn't remember it, and doesn't really do it for reasons.
Exactly.
Because of nothing. I mean,
because of the witch. Because they all have runes on them. They all believe that they are possessed by the witch. They don't think they're all possessed, but they think someone is possessed by the witch, and the witch is making them do things. Is that true? Is that not true? We don't know. But what's fun is that the movie, the way that it should be cut, is we see everything they believe happened first. We have no idea that they get arrested. That isn't supposed to come until that's the final 10 minutes of the movie.
Yeah.
We cut to that immediately. So we're like, okay, well, they're going to get in trouble, and they may or may not have done something. And then this movie shows us what they did, which is massacre a bunch of people. I think minute 3. I made a note. It cuts to that, like, within the first 5 minutes, there's a weird cut of them murdering them. But all that aside, what should happen is we watch what they believe happened, and then we get to watch as they slowly start to realize what they actually did. And then the last bit is the actual confirmation that they did these things on these tapes that they believe would show something different. And then at the end of the movie, you're like, well, what happened? Were they possessed? Were they not? It's a great idea for a follow-up to a movie that I don't think you can make a good sequel to.
Well, you and I are going to have to differ on the idea that movie even exists in any of this footage, because that these people would have ended up killing each other when they all could just like walk out of the house and leave.
They can't walk out of the house. The bridge to the house collapses. They can't leave. They don't believe that they can leave because. Which? Mass hysteria. I don't know. Is that what it is? I keep saying I want to use a real term.
Yeah, but why do they think the bridge is collapsed?
Because
Because
it
it's not
does.
collapsed. No, it doesn't.
But it does because the guy, the married guy, or the guy with the girlfriend, I don't remember his name. I feel bad.
Who, Steven? Steven.
Yeah. Steven walks out and is walking towards the witch.
Well, no, it collapses. Yeah, it collapses on
And then it collapses
Steven.
and he's hanging on to it. Yeah.
Yeah,
but that never happened.
Why does he think that the bridge collapsed when it didn't collapse?
Exactly,
it's a real bridge.
Dan. Exactly.
What do you mean exactly? They all saw it collapse.
Is it
but
the
it's
witch?
not collapsed.
Or is it mass hysteria? That's the whole point. What's real? What's not real? That's the point of the movie. But they diluted it. The studio came in and were like, this is too esoteric. People won't understand it. This is supposed to be a standard slasher type movie. We need to add in blood, guts, gore. They killed people. Ridiculous. There's a wonderful, nuanced film in here with mediocre to subpar acting. What are you going to do? There wasn't a budget. They had to go into production. I think it was like 5 weeks they had to make the movie or something.
I'm sure they did.
You're fucked. You're not going to make a good movie. The idea is there. I love the idea. I'm all on board. This movie, not good.
Great.
Let me be clear. This movie that I just watched, not a good movie. However, there's a good movie in it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll buy that if you set up that these people are trapped in a situation and then they don't know who to trust and then they turn on each other. Yeah, that's a great staple concept of movies. And if they'd have made that movie, it might have been entertaining.
The movie's in there-ish. It's there-ish. Here's what I'll say. Here's what I'll say. I watched
say something, Tony.
A 1 hour and 15 minutes of this movie. I don't know. That's a give or take. Thinking this was the worst movie we've ever done. The last 10 minutes, when it's when it's actually them in the police room, I was like, oh shit, I think there's a real movie in here. It's been ruined, but I like it. So then I went down a little rabbit hole about reading what's his name? Joe Berlinger. Is that his name, the director?
Yeah. Yeah.
He had a lot of interesting stuff to say, and he does not like this movie. He hates this movie.
Yeah, so he just talks about
they did to it.
He talks about the movie that he was trying to make, and I don't doubt he tried to make it. He didn't have the skills to write it. The people in it did not have the skills to act it.
That we agree on. Listen.
And that it has like literally, I mean, the editing job on this movie, it's as bad as what was the video game one we just did for Halloween?
Yeah, House of the Dead. House of the Dead. Yeah.
The editing on this is worse than House of the Dead.
I agree.
Worse.
But
worse.
I think a lot of that is not them. I think a lot of that is the studio reshoots.
Oh, sure. The studio said we have to up all these things, which doesn't make any sense because they're trying to sell this movie to the same audience that like Blair Witch, which didn't need any of that stuff in the first place. Not
only did they not need it or want it, like they would never like that because that's not what the first movie is. That's what baffles me so much is what the studio wanted isn't what made the first one a hit. Who's making these decisions? I don't understand. These people need to be fired. Okay,
wait, you know who's making those studio people.
No, I meant literally. I would like names and Twitter handles because I'm going to come after them digitally.
So we set up. We have the first bit of the movie where we set up this one movie, which is kind of the movie that he's talking about, where we find out that the town where they did Blair Witch is being overrun by people that think that Blair Witch is real.
Which really happened.
And
some of those interviews are real townspeople.
Oh, really?
Not all of them, but they're mixed in. Yeah.
There's people in the cemetery and the sheriff is yelling at them and they're selling tourist rocks and they're selling them fake stickmen. And you're like, oh, wow. Okay. Yeah, please. This is a movie I want to see.
Yeah.
Then we actually so tank our movie instantaneously. We set up a year earlier our main protagonist, Jeff, is in an asylum, and the doctor is like smoking, and
it's crazy.
they're sticking a tube up his nose. They're
And
putting
so
him.
far, I don't know. Do you know what this move is?
Wait, putting the hose up the nose? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay, either do I. That was like a real question because I'm watching it happen, and it's almost a minute of him just shoving a tube up and up and up and up and up, and I was like, is he mummifying him? What's happening right now? I've never seen anything like it. But yeah, he's smoking while he's doing a procedure, and then they're shooting him full of stuff, and he's vomiting. This is ridiculous. First of all, this immediately ruins anything. If you read what Joe wanted to do, within 2 minutes of his movie, they've completely derailed that idea.
I threw it in the trash.
It's unbelievable. I would be furious.
It's really sad. Yeah, and there's needles, there's hoses, there's this padded room, and it's the guy who was selling the stick figures. So you're like, oh, I guess this guy's our guy.
Yeah.
And the asylum doesn't make any sense because we don't need that. We don't need any of this.
Especially because we're not that, and I want to be very gentle here because I don't want to upset anybody. But in the year later, he doesn't seem to have any.
He's not unstable.
Okay, yeah. Great. Let's go there. And then it just cuts to him running around this padded room, just slamming walls and screaming. And it's just like, why are we even setting up this dichotomy of that? I don't get it. I don't get it.
Because in addition to the movie, it never plays with it and never sort of deals with it and never, other than, characters saying to him, you were something, at certain points when they're doing their arguments, which is the most painful part of the whole movie.
Well, it's hard to make that sincere. Okay.
So so that's movie number 2. Now we go to movie number 3. Autumn of 1999. Overhead shot of the area. We rock the Marilyn Manson. That's another thing. This movie we rock in. We bought a Marilyn Manson song. We bought a whole heavy metal hardcore soundtrack, which I'm sure you love the soundtrack.
No, hate it. And you read that that's not the original soundtrack, right?
Yeah, so they glue in this rock and roll soundtrack for an unknowable reason because
it's not unknowable. Let me explain it to you. So the people this is my opinion. This is not based in fact. This is what I believe. The people, artisan, is that what we decided? I believe it's artisan. They believed that the people that loved the first Blair Witch and wanted a second Blair Witch were the goth community. I believe, like, the darker, gothier people. That's what they wanted to bring this movie to. That's why they added blood, guts, and gore. They added all of this stuff about him being in a mental institution. And then they added this weird hard rock music that doesn't actually fit the narrative of the film that Joe was trying to make.
Or maybe.
Oh, okay.
Maybe the studio people were like, we got all this money. Let's buy this great soundtrack that we can put the soundtrack out, make soundtrack money, and we get to like hang out with cool music.
I mean, I don't. Sure,
that's
maybe.
What I think happened.
What was the original song? I can't remember now.
I don't know.
It's a lovely song. It was very tongue in cheek. It's about witches, and it's very like.
Oh, you mean the Marilyn Manson song?
No. The one that it replaced. I'm going to see if I can just
Tony's going to spend 45 minutes looking it up.
Yeah.
And this, of course, during all this is when we start doing the intercuts where we have people being tied up and stabbed and things. And it's just, don't ever do this in your movie. Don't ever intercut just random images. Don't ever do that. It's terrible. It's not. It's never worked. There's not a movie ever that it's worked.
100%, I agree with that. It has never worked because it's weird and jarring, and it doesn't fit with whatever you're doing, and it's always added later. And also, it looks terrible. My assumption is Joe was like, "Fuck this! I'm not going to do this well." But it looks like it was filmed on like a little handy cam in someone's backyard. You know what I mean? It's bad. It looks like a movie I made in high school.
Yeah, the rest of the movie's shot decently. It's not problematic, but this stuff is just like
it's so weird.
Just seems like that somebody just shot it for no reason without any real lighting. It was just okay, good enough. We're done.
Yep. That's why I think it was like a fuck it type of situation. It was just like, you know what? I don't care about any of this.
And then we have the first of the interrogation scenes with Jeff, which this movie gets even more confusing because he gets interrogated. There's like essentially the final movie interrogation scenes, but there's also another time he gets pulled a mid, and they feel exactly the same. And then the other characters are interrogated by different people, and your head begins to swim with all these different interrogations being cut in there, and you have no idea what you don't know
the time frame. That's like you don't even understand where we are in the story that they're trying to tell. Guys.
This movie also is a movie where they do the chyrons that tell you when a thing is, and you're just like, I have no idea where this relates to where we were. It doesn't mean
anything to us. We don't have a timeline that makes any sense. Oh, boy.
In addition to jumping around, everything gets confusing, and you're just like, I don't, you just get to the point where you don't care at all. So talk about the sheriff's performance. It is the worst performance of everyone, right?
I mean, let me think if it's the worst, because I do have problems with one of the main people. Oh, okay. It's definitely the most cartoonish. He's not a believable human. Now, I did read a little something about that this character was based on a real person that Joe met during his documentary Paradise Lost, which was I haven't seen it yet. I kind of want to see it now. It's about like 3 kids that were wrongfully accused. Oh, that's why I was going to bring up his Paradise Lost is about three goth, quote unquote, goth kids that were wrongfully convicted of murdering other kids because of who they were.
Was that something that they then revisited 2 more times and made 3 different movies of?
Yes, they made 3 different movies of it.
Okay, I changed my entire opinion about everything. He's a freaking incredible director.
He is.
Those movies are incredible. But they're very particular. Yeah, they're great. 100%. They're great. They're wonderful. We watched them all. They're wonderful.
So, and the reason why I'm bringing that up is because after this movie came out, he made a statement apologizing and saying, like, I'm worried that people will view Paradise Lost differently having seen this movie, because this movie does everything, does all the things that I was trying to get across, like the opposite, right? So that's why, like, they go with the Marilyn Manson, they go with this heavy rock, they goth it out, and it's all like, oh, these goth people are all obsessed, and that's their evil witchcraft, right? And so he was trying to make this whole movie pointing to that as being ridiculous, and then they just pumped it up and made the movie about. It's fucking bizarre what happened. Also, I did find it. It is Frank Sinatra Witchcraft, which is like a jaunty. Yes. And so that's what's supposed to open this movie instead of 2 very different movies. Just like right away, you've completely altered the idea of this film.
And I see I see the classic Tony thing. What you're going through is this poor guy getting destroyed.
It must have been the worst year of his life. Like, seriously, to have your vision just so ripped out from you and made into this soulless piece of garbage. And again, I'm not saying his movie would have been good. The idea is good. I will fight that to the end. Again, he had 5 weeks.
He at least could have defended his movie.
100%.
Now you can't even defend your movie because it's just
hot garbage.
Pile of garbage.
It's unfortunate.
That's pretty sad. Okay, there's blood in the van. Who cares? Earlier, boom. Here we have.
They care, Dan. They talk about it through the whole movie. They say it like 19 times. There's blood in the van. Oh, I don't care.
We have the cool Blair Witch Tours van. Here's our boy Jeff. He's in charge. We have these two people, Stephen and Tristan, who are writing a book, which doesn't make any sense.
They're writing a book about mass hysteria, and that's why they've come to where the Blair Witch is to see if this town has, has become that or whatever.
Yeah.
So they are the movie. Those two represent the movie. So all these characters represent a faction of the original Blair Witch. All right. Okay. So the Wicca lady represents the community that was upset with the original Blair Witch. There was a pushback from is it Wicca community? Wiccan? I don't know. I apologize. Don't come after us.
Wicca's the religion. Wiccans are like the people.
Okay. So that community was upset with the first one because witchcraft was portrayed negatively, right?
Sure.
So that's what she is. She is the negative reaction to the first movie. So she's there to promote good witchcraft, right? Our main guy, Jeffrey, is he the main guy? I don't know. Jeffrey.
Yeah
Jeffrey is the studio. It's the people that are trying to make the consumer, you know what I mean? You know the words I'm trying to say.
Trying to exploit the situation.
Exploit the situation. So that's him. And then the goth girl is literally what Joe has spent like half of his life fighting against, is this portrayal of goth being bad. And then those two represent, the movie itself, mass hysteria versus, because one of them is like pro mass hysteria. One of them was like pro, like it could have really happened.
Yeah, they kind of yell it, and they sort of show, and that's part of the problem with this whole thing is that whoever wrote it, I don't know, did Joe write it? Did he write this?
Yeah, he co-wrote it with someone else. Yeah,
it's really badly written, and so
it's not superbly written. I agree, but again, 5 weeks to make the movie that includes writing the script. It's too fast.
Yeah,
it's too fast.
Too fast. So then we have Erica, who's the hot witch, and then we have Kim, who's the psychic goth laying on a grave, like, woe is me, as they pick her up.
Now,
okay,
let's just take a minute. Because I just kind of laid out the five main characters, right?
Sure.
Let's talk about them. Who do you like? Who do you not like? I just want to see if we're on the same page.
I mean, Jeff's the only one that's like you would call entertaining,
for sure, and he's not necessarily good in the movie, but he does use the camp effectively.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's the one that you telling me he's gone on to actually have a career does not surprise me. You're like,
have you not seen Burn Notice?
What's that?
Well, listen,
I've heard of that.
I don't understand why people don't listen. This is why USA went under, right? Like, this is why USA doesn't make scripted content anymore, because nobody watched these great shows. Burn Notice ran for many seasons. He basically plays a spy who's been burned, and it's him trying to figure out who burned him. And it's a great show. It's fun. It's witty. And there's action. It's awesome. Classic USA.
I always thought I'd wait till it was on Netflix to watch it.
Well, I think it's there. I think it's somewhere. You can watch it, Dan. If not, Peacock. You know what I'm saying? Because Peacock's got all the USA stuff. Anyhow, yeah, he went on to some good stuff. He's good.
So he's fine. The girl Kim, not the most attractive girl in the world, which of course limits you in all of Hollywood. She seemed like she had some abilities.
Had some chops. Yep, I agree.
And then the other three I found, the dude was the most forgettable.
Yeah.
And the other two girls, they were okay.
I mean, you've said Erica is pretty much there for one reason.
She's very attractive and she gets naked.
A lot. It's a lot.
A fair amount. Yeah.
Yeah. And
way more than I would have expected. I didn't expect any nudity.
Way more that's necessary. Like, it's not necessary, and it's parts of it are weird. Yeah, I don't know, but it's the couple. I hate the couple. I'll just say it. I think they're trash, and I think they kind of bring down everybody else because their arguments are kind of what drives our plot, and they're just not good.
And I think the girl Tristan, I think she has the worst scene in the movie.
Is that when she's possessed by the witch?
Yeah, when she's spinning on the bed.
Oh, oh yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. Let's wait to talk about that because that was pretty bizarre.
Yeah, especially terrible.
All right. Anyhow, yeah, I don't like the couple, and it makes it hard to get in the movie, I think. But
yeah. So then we have this sort of not subplot, but we have a couple of scenes that occur in like the gas station Quickie Mart, where it's like the regular people hating on the tourists. And for some reason, we have like one shopping cart that's completely full.
Of what? What is it full of, Dan? I don't understand.
Deviled ham.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, Underwood deviled ham.
And
it doesn't make any sense. It's
Dan,
full.
there are hundreds of cans in this thing.
And so it's a joke. You're like, that's a joke.
But I don't get the joke. And maybe I don't know.
It's deviled ham.
When you say it like that,
their mascot's a little devil. And so if you know that, you know that's what it is. Like,
so ostensibly, this townie, as we'll call her, she filled her cart with little devil cans. Well, first of all, why would this Quickie Mart have hundreds of those cans? I don't know. But she fills her entire cart and then chases down the witch. That's what I'm supposed to believe she does.
And then later on, it's still there in the thing because they shot both of those scenes from the Quickie Mart at the same time.
It's the same
even
day.
Though they're days apart. Okay, that's weird.
It's weird, and it's really funny because she also just leaves it. The lady just pushes it into her, and then she walks away. So she did all of this. All of this work was just to like give a middle finger to this lady, and it's amazing. On the flip side, the less stupid side, the guy that's on the ground that is like, I'm finished now. So that delivered.
Wasn't that a stuffed animal? Wasn't that a stuffed thing first, or that was an actual guy the first time too?
I think no, it was a guy. It's a guy.
Oh, okay.
And he is. Oh, where's my phone? I had it and I forgot. He is in the Blair Witch lore. He's based off of an actual guy from the lore, and it is of course Rustin Parr. He first appeared in The Curse of the Blair Witch as an old man on death row. So there's like a story about this guy who murdered children, and then at the end he comes out and he's like, I'm finished now, or something like that. So this guy is like a nod to something in the lore that nobody cared about. I believe that since the movie was such a big hit and people were so like, is it real, is it not real? I think they all assumed that people were more into the lore of it than they were. Sure. And that's like this weird inside baseball pitch that I don't think anybody understood. But I was watching interviews with Joe and he brought it up and he's like, yeah, that was like a thing from the lore. Like we were giving that to the fans. It's fan service and nobody got it. And I was like, oh, that's tough. That's tough. Swing and a miss.
I was watching something. God, I can't even think of what it was. That was like a fan service thing, and there were just all these fan service things, and I'm just sitting there, and I'm like, I know these are all fan service things, but they mean nothing to me. You can't make a show like that.
No, you cannot. No, you cannot.
Because you have to assume that your work is going to get seen by somebody in 20 years that has no background or knowledge necessary. Yeah. You know, every James Bond movie has to stand on its own. It can have references back to stuff, but it has to be able to completely stand on its own, or people are going to be unhappy unless they're, part 1, part 2, or whatever like that. Okay,
speaking of part 1, part 2, did you hear that Mission Impossible: Dead Reckoning is no longer a part 2? They've pushed it back because of the strikes. They pushed it back to 2025, and it's no longer going to be called Dead Reckoning Part 2. It's going to have its own subtitle. So that means that the one that just came out will forever be Part 1 of 1. Ridiculous.
You can do Part 1 of 1.
Part 1 of 1.
I saw a thing. Somebody on Twitter was complaining that they couldn't tell the difference between Rebecca Ferguson and the Monahan girl in the movie.
Interesting. I gotta see this movie. It's on streaming. I don't know. I haven't watched it yet.
You haven't watched Dead Reckoning 1?
I haven't because it's Halloween season, Dan. We only watch horror movies during Halloween season.
So weird.
I know.
Okay, so they buy beers, then they get out to like their place, and there's a tree there, and we do a whole bit about how that tree wasn't there, now it is there, and then at one point they watch a video and it's not there, and then it is there, and it's just you have a lot to say about the tree?
No, so here's the thing.
You want to defend the use of the tree and disappearing
no,
tree?
because it's just supposed to add to the mass hysteria element of it. Like, is the tree there? Is it not? They're all seeing a tree that's not really there.
The tree isn't there?
The tree's not there because how would it be there, Dan? That was a house. They literally say, Jeffrey Donovan says it. He's like, this tree can't be there. This is the living room. It would be up through a living room of a house. It's a huge tree. It didn't just grow.
Well, then how do you not have a picture? You know, somebody should have pulled out a picture of there not being a tree where the house was.
Right. I don't understand the meaning of it.
You're the one that read all the books about this.
There is a book, and I didn't read it, and I wish I would have had more time.
Okay, so Jeff brings all this equipment, all these tripods, all these cameras. Everyone's got a camera. We're supposedly going to use these cameras, and it's weird. We set up a bunch of tents. Erica goes off and does a good Wicca spell, and she's trying to talk to the witch. And so then it's night, and they have tents, and then this is what I wrote: dumb young people acting intelligent. So a lot of the dialogue, the characters say things that are supposed to seem like they're intelligent, but they're not really intelligent things, and the people that are delivering the lines don't know what they're saying, so it doesn't seem intelligent. You gotta, when you go back to Cabin in the Woods. Good movie.
Great.
The smart people, the one guy, the weed guy, he's the smart guy, right?
Yep.
He always seems like he's a weed guy that's actually a smart guy.
Yep.
I don't believe any of these people are smart.
I agree. And part of that is because they're literally caricatures, archetypes of like certain things, but not all of those archetypes are smart. And I don't mean that like people like that can't be smart, right? I mean the archetype of that character isn't smart but into this, smart but loves that. You know what I mean? They're these things, and smart isn't one of them. Yeah, so it's weird coming out of the mouths of people that were like, they wouldn't say that.
Yeah. Well, the two people that are writing the book, neither of them seems smart.
Yeah.
And the dialogue that they give them is not, it's, you got to write dialogue that is very, you have to show your dialogue to someone that is smart. And then they'll say like, no, this doesn't sound right.
This sounds like someone trying to be smart rather than someone smart saying something. I get it. That's how I sound all the time, Dan.
Okay, boom. Steven gets super drunk. Jeff is all over Erica. And then they hear a scream in the night. And boom, a second tour group shows up. This was the best scene in the whole movie.
Yes, Dan, me too. I was just going to say that. I love it. Mine's more personal than yours, but continue.
So this other tour group is there, and they want to sort of stay at the same place they're staying. And then they say, well, let us be here till dawn. And then they're like, they're not buying it, and then they're like, "Oh, we heard something. We were up at Coffin Rock, and we got too scared and had to come back down here." And so the other party leaves to go up to Coffin Rock, and they all start laughing too soon.
Of course,
you need to wait till the people move out of the way, then laugh at how stupid. You don't talk about how stupid people are until they're actually
until they're gone, and they don't actually know you're talking about. I agree. This is I'm sure we've talked about it on air. I just got back from Salem not too long ago, and we went on a ghost tour because that's one of the things you do in Salem. There were, I would say, 30 to 35 other tours happening at the same time. And you just see blocks where people are just huddled here, huddled here, huddled here, huddled here. And we had one, we were on a sidewalk, and we were kind of lined up on the yard, and she was in the street, our tour guide. And another tour walked in between us and her because they're on a sidewalk. They want to go down the street. You don't want to walk in the middle of the street because it's dangerous, right? So they walked in the middle of our tour while she was talking, and this girl flips out. She starts like badgering the other tour guide. She's like, I guess you didn't notice we had a fucking tour here just walking in the middle. And I was like, oh my God. So this scene where two tour groups come together, I was like, this is the most realistic thing in this entire movie. And I love it. It's great.
Great
it's a thing. It's a thing.
And that should have been what this movie was just, we should have kept them out there in the woods, and it should have been like this. It should have been a light comedy or whatever that then led to something actually happening.
Dan, you just described literally what he said he wants his movie. The first act of the movie is a lighthearted satire, and then it slowly devolves into horror. That's what he wanted.
But the problem was that they only had X amount of time in this exterior, and then they go inside of a building where that's why the real Blair Witch movie works, is because they went out there and were out there doing a thing. Yeah. And so the tension just increased. If you have you're not going to get that kind of tension just in a building unless there's something actually going on.
Sure.
So that's a problem. That's
a problem.
Lots more drinking, more rock music. Kim sees an owl, but she doesn't see an owl.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, so now we're going into my research here. That owl was supposed to be like the harbinger of death, and he was supposed to show up multiple times in the movie. He only ends up showing up twice because Joe hated what the design team came up with for the owl. He's like, it doesn't look like an owl. I can't use this for very long. So you only see it for a couple seconds, and then you cut away and then cut back, and it's gone. But it's supposed to be like an omen that shows up multiple times in the movie, and he hated it so much that it didn't. But then they kept some of them in there. I don't know.
Oh, there's so many bad decisions so constantly. Okay, now Tristan has a dream about a baby and blood in the river.
Yeah.
And then everybody wakes up. It's the next morning. All their research has been somehow their research was all just a bunch of photocopied pieces of paper.
Yep, I don't.
That's different. So the paper is everywhere. The cameras are destroyed, and everyone gets really mad at each other. And we don't care. We're like, you were all drunk,
right? Like,
no surprise.
Who are you mad at? You can't be mad at each other. You all did the same thing. You're all dumb.
You have to. That's the other thing. You have to differentiate characters. If everybody gets drunk and terrible things happen, well,
terrible things happen. Yep. That's what happens when you make bad choices.
Boom, everyone's mad. They blacked out. There's weird music. And then Kim's like, oh, the tapes are okay. And then she shows them where the tapes are. They've hidden them away and buried them. And they're like, how do you know? How did you know that? And then they all yell at each other again for no real reason, even though they saved the tapes. And it was the same place that the original Blair Witch tapes were supposedly found.
That's right, because is it the mass hysteria making them think the witch is here hiding the tapes, or did the witch hide the tapes? Who knows? Could have been a good movie, Dan.
Could have been. And then they look over, and Tristan has blood on her. She has miscarried. Yeah. And so we take her to the hospital, and if I remember correctly, this hospital is about as realistic as the mental institution was, and you're just like,
Listen, budget, it's hard, right? I mean, they didn't have a huge budget probably, although it's weird because the first movie made so much money, you would think that they'd have budget. I guess I don't know, but it looks bad.
And then this is the first time that the sheriff drags in Jeff because someone had a miscarry.
I don't know. So here, I'm not sure that it's a different time. I don't know for sure. I think part of that might still be the end of the movie, just the beginning of the interrogation. I don't know, Dan. I don't know.
It just seemed to connect to
that's the problem. The reason why it gets so confusing is because they try to use this interrogation as like a way to emphasize points that happen in the movie. It's very confusing. It's bizarre.
So Tristan sees the ghost girl, the drowned Eileen Treacle, who I guess is the witch, I don't know. I don't even know who the witch is.
And see, that's where we're the same. I don't know either. Here's what I will say about this is it's really dumb. She does this weird... What are those? The tubes those tube men that like dance the air. Sure. That's what she looks like when she's backing up. This ghost
air dancer
does. Yeah. Okay. Great. That she does that, and then she fades away. In the original cut, Dan, she doesn't fade away. It's like the owl where you cut and she's there. You cut back to the person looking. They're scared, and then you cut back and they're gone. That's what was supposed to happen. For some reason, the studio was like, no, she should fade away like a ghost. And so they added it in. And it's weird because nothing else in the movie does that. There is no other entity that fades away. It's not a thing.
So, for some reason, since Tristan's not feeling well after the miscarriage, she doesn't want to spend time in the hospital. That they're all like,
let her go.
Let's all go live with Jeff in his place for no reason.
What is it, Dan? He lives in like some abandoned warehouse. Can you live there?
He bought it for $1. It was an old scissor factory. That's what he says.
But is any of this real? I'm confused because
I don't know. He could have bought it for $1, I suppose.
All right. It just seems pretty weird.
There are lots of. I mean, it's really generally nice inside, but there are lots of big empty industrial buildings that sit around places. They don't let you live in them because generally they're not structurally very sound.
Yeah.
They don't want to. People don't sell you a building that's going to fall down if they think you're going to live in it, because then you're going to sue them.
Your next of kin is going to sue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this place is packed with all sorts of stolen electronics. He sells them on eBay to make a living.
Which I loved.
See his stickman factory. And then we sort of have this conflict of Wicca versus capitalism that they sort of tries to do that, and it doesn't really go anywhere.
Nah, it doesn't.
Tristan's starting to go insane. We start watching the tapes. We see the no tree, and then Kim has a big rash. Kim has a rash on her shoulder.
Yeah.
Then Steven starts hallucinating. He sees a ghost. And then Steven's like, let's leave. But then Tristan's like, no, I want to stay here. I want to understand what's happening.
Now, here's what's weird, Dan. That may not have happened.
What may
because here's the thing. In the tapes, she's the only one that's not crazy. So everyone in this movie is an unreliable narrator, right? So
you can't make a movie where everyone's an unreliable narrator.
But you can, because the whole point is you don't know what's real, what's not. That's what it's about. So I don't know if she really did this. I don't know.
Okay, so Jeff can't, there's missing time on the footage. So Jeff's like, what does Jeff want to do? He wants to redigitize the footage. Talk to me about that, Tony. Talk to me about redigitizing footage. Is that what are you going to redo? No, do you ever take your tapes you have there and redigitize them?
I redigitize them all the time. And here's the thing. So I'm redigitizing is a thing, right? But it's not enhancing it. They do it in a way that it becomes. It's basically like taking 1080 or 720, probably, let's be honest, and making it a 1080 or a 4K footage. He's like, I enhanced it and blew it up. No, you didn't.
No, he said he redigitized it. He didn't say he enhanced and blew it up.
But he did say that because then later he's like, I got a new angle of the witch or of the ghost. That's not possible. His redigitizing it somehow made it so he could move his camera around and zoom in and everything's perfectly in focus. We can kind of do that now a little bit with AI. We're just getting to the point where we can kind of start doing that. I actually just did a video that I shot in 1080 and I upres it to 4K, and it looks pretty good. It was just a test, and I was like, wow, it's not bad. It's not great, but it's not bad. But this is 20 years ago. We didn't have that. That's not possible. What's going on here?
He should have just said, I'm going to try and enhance the tapes.
Sure. So that's fine. Right?
Can't say redigitizing. Can't say that.
So weird.
Okay, then we get the really hot scene with Erica and Steven are there, and then it's massage time, and then they're kissing, and then she claws him open, and then it was all a fantasy.
Yeah, and the whole time I was like, cool. Yeah, that's great. Even the clawing part, I'm okay with it.
So we keep working on the tapes, and boom, now we see Erica doing a naked pole dance on one of the trees.
What? I'm a little confused.
What are you
But
confused about?
mass hysteria, baby.
Kim's like, I got to get out of here. Erica's doing witch prayers.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, we brought something back with us. I'm like, okay.
But let's be clear, it wasn't a we. She literally did a prayer at the site, at the Blair Witch site, and was like inviting the ghost to be her mentor. I don't know if you remember. We didn't talk about that, but that was what she said. Yeah, she was like, yeah, what people don't understand is that she was a good witch, and I want her to be my mentor. No. She was a bad witch. She killed children. That's the lore, is that this witch killed children. I'm sorry. I understand that you're trying to make a point where witchcraft isn't evil, but this particular witch was.
See, there you go, right? You just talked about the witch lore that you know because you read about this movie. No one sitting in this movie knows. I'm like, I don't know what this witch is. I don't know who it is. I don't know what she did. I don't know where she's from. I don't know what the deal is. You got to tell us these things. That's the extra scenes you shoot. You shoot some witch scenes where the witch is like, now I shall kill your children. Okay, there you go. Blood and gore. Let's cut up some children. It'll be good.
Well, I believe that they talk about it in the first one. I should have rewatched the first one just to be sure. But I think they do give the backstory in the first one. So they just make the assumption that everybody is caught. Again, like the guy in the store. They're making an assumption that everyone is so into this lore that they can just jump into a movie without any reference whatsoever.
It would be interesting to watch the second James Bond movie and see how they set up Q and all these kind of things. I bet you each time they go into those places, they say a line or something. They're like, go see Q in the fancy new equipment division and get yourself some goody treats that you're going to need on the, because you got to give us those 2 or 3 lines, 10 lines throughout a movie that let us understand that this witch is not good or good or confused. The townspeople were the problem. I don't know what the problem is.
I mean, somebody needed to just say it in that moment where she's like, it's a good witch. And they're like, no, she killed children. She's not a good witch. Like just something, even if it's just in opposition to what she believes, to be like, no, not all witches are bad, but this witch killed kids. So she's not great. Right.
See, that's Tony acting where you believe what he says. And the stupid witch was like, no, we're going to let her in. Then we're like, now we don't trust you.
Right.
Now we trust it. We trust the Tony information because he acted it as if it was true. We don't trust the witch girl because she's all like, I need to let the thing into me because I need the
That's
power.
A good Erica. You're crushing that. That's knocking that out of the park, Dan.
I was born to play the Erica role.
Dancing around that tree. I could see it, Dan.
But they saw my naked butt and they're like, you can't pull off.
It's too good. We can't use it. It's too much. People will go crazy.
My butt was too good.
Speaking of that, I was going to wait till later to bring it up, but when Jeffrey shows his butt, wow, that guy's got a body on him. Just throwing it out there. I was impressed. I was impressed. He looked good.
Okay, you got to point out that scene because
You don't remember that scene?
I didn't clock his butt.
Then you know what? Forget I said it. I'll bring it up at the end.
So Kim goes into town for beer, and then she fights with the clerk, and then she leaves, and then there's rude children when she's going in, and then the rude children throw rocks. At the van
that's driving down the road. How did they hit the back window, Dan?
Pretty well. Then ghost children appear, and then she sort of gets an fender bender. She sort of runs into a tree, but she's okay. Nothing bad happens.
Well, of course she's okay. Did you see the crash scene, Dan? She is going 3 miles per hour. She's not even on the accelerator. They're just rolling with the brake off into the tree. There's not even a mark on the van. And the problem is they show the van, like the angle is wrong. If you're trying to convince me that she just got in even the tiniest bit, because later she's like, oh, I messed up your front fender. No, she didn't. We see it. It's totally fine. There's not a dent or a scratch on it. You just got to hide it. Just hide it with angles, guys.
So boom, she gets back at Jeff. She bought Pete's Wicked L. She cuts her finger. She
This is important.
confesses.
Wait, hold on. So we gotta talk about in the Quickie Mart. That's not the name of it. The clerk is filing her nails with a thing, and then she puts it down.
It's called a nail file.
With a nail file. That makes sense because she's filing her nails. But she puts it down, and then Erica chokes her out. Right? That's what we see. And then somehow when she gets back, she reaches into her groceries and the nail file is in there and she pulls it out. And we see her finger that she just pricked on it has a little trickle of blood on it, just a little. But the file is covered in blood. And so you're like, well, that doesn't make sense. That's obviously not from her. And then you're like, uh-oh, mass hysteria time. She did something bad.
Wow. I didn't even think of that.
You didn't? Oh, Dan.
Because I didn't think of that. So she confesses to Jeff, and I wrote, sees Jeff as electric chaired.
Yeah. So
she sees Jeff in an electric chair? Like,
that's Dan. That was almost exactly what Jeff did. So he's in the chair looking at footage. She brings him coffee and then sits down, and he's not going for the coffee. And then he looks and he goes, coffee. She's like, it's right next to you. And then he turns his chair. And when he turns, we cut back to him, and she sees him in with the electric chair hat on. And he's like, and then it cuts to her, and she's like, and then we cut back, and he's fine. Mass hysteria. That's what I'm going to, sometimes I use that as a good thing, and sometimes I use it as a bad thing. This is one of the bad ones where you didn't need this. Doesn't make any sense. Shouldn't she be seeing things that are going to happen? Because she kind of was psychic a little bit earlier.
Kim is, yeah.
Kim, so when I just think that as that character, when she sees visions, it should be of something that's going to happen, a la, Final Destination-y kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it wasn't.
The next day they look outside, the van has been destroyed, and she's all like, you said it was just a fender bender. And she's like, because
they can't go anywhere, Dan. They've been cut off from the world. Mass hysteria.
Tristan, look, there's a lock covered in marks. No, they're all covered in marks. They're all covered in the witch signs. Then they're like, where's Erica? She's nude. No, she's not nude. She's vanished. Then Tristan and
I wish those were the actual words of the movie. Because we see her dress on the ground. So as a viewer, I'm like, oh, she's naked again. But she's just nowhere to be found.
Then everybody fights. Again, and then they're like, oh, we should call Erica's dad. And they call Erica's dad, and Erica's dad's like, I don't have any kids. I don't know what that means.
I don't either. I assume it's some sort of like a red herring where you're supposed to be like, oh shit, she's been the witch the whole time or something. I don't know. I don't know, Dan. I didn't say the movie's perfect. All right.
So the sheriff calls them and is like, turn on the TV. And they're like, oh, we better turn on the TV. They turn on the TV, and the TV has a special report.
It's just starting, by the way. They tuned in at the exact moment. It's like the sheriff was watching his watch, and he's like, okay, it's going to start in 22 seconds. I better call him up and let him know. So weird.
Then we find out that the hikers that they ran into when they were out there are all now dead. And then I wrote my favorite line in the movie was, bodies were laid out in a pentagram.
Yeah.
Okay. And then we have this weird scene where they're talking to the sheriff on the phone, and the sheriff is in the shot of the news person, and he's all like back there like, I'm talking to you on the phone, and I'm also waving hello to you. And it's just like they kind of cut back and forth, and it's literally the weirdest shot maybe in any movie, because it's I don't understand.
Can you imagine, Tan, in real life, watching a special news report where a reporter's at the scene of a mass murder, and the sheriff, who's in his sheriff outfit and his star, looks like he's waving to his kids? You know what I mean? Like, hey, guys, hi! It is the most bizarre thing you'll ever see. And I loved it. That was a 10 out of 10 scene for me. I laughed real hard.
It was interesting. Jeff thinks that Erica is witching us.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Oh, wait. So, no. And he's like, the sheriff is like, nobody can leave town. Then the owl flies through the window and kills itself.
Yeah. And that's supposed to be like the last time we see the owl. But
it is.
It was supposed to mean, but it was supposed to have meant something.
Dead. It's dead.
Because all we did, we saw it once and now it killed itself. It doesn't mean anything yet. It's supposed to signify like, oh shit, this is the end. The shit's about to go off the rails. But instead, it's just like, why is this owl dead?
It's not there. I don't get it. There's a whole other page, Tony. Kim eats chicken. Tristan sees Erica outside naked. Yeah. Steven gets tempted by Erica. So Erica's out there like, come to me. And then he goes there and the bridge falls. And then he's like, Tristan, help me. And Tristan's like, yeah, I don't think so. And then Jeff and the others come out and they pull him from falling to his death.
Yeah.
And then now we get to Steven goes up to the bedroom and Tristan's like, I'm crazy. And she's spinning on the bed. Ellie's in my dreams. I cannot act this scene. And the way they're shooting this scene is terrible. And Steven's like, I'm going crazy. You're like, no, she's going crazy.
She's right. Out of the two of you, it's not you. It's a horrible scene. It's not a good scene. What makes it even worse is that it's cut from him hanging off the ledge. They don't even pull him all the way up. They're there and they start pulling him up. And in the middle of pulling him up, they cut to another scene in which he's entering.
Oh, really?
It doesn't work. Just as like basic movie math, it doesn't work. And I was like, oh, guys, you need some cut in the middle. Anything in the middle there. And then the scene itself is it's like a high school production. You know what I mean? But it's a good movie, Dan.
Jeff's still watching video. Then he's like, let's call the hospital. Number's in the phone book. So Kim goes to get the phone book. She pulls it out. And inside there are like police files on all of them. And she's all like, you've got these police files. He's like, where did those come from? And then, boom, there's a knock at the door. The sheriff is back at the door. And the bridge is back open. And we're like, what? And then they open the door. And then there's dogs on the bridge. And then Jeff is like, I got to get a gun. And then he goes back out there, and then there's no dogs. And then he goes back to the closet, and then there's Erica's dead body. I guess it's a dead body. What, was it dead naked body?
And it's standing up very well. I don't know a lot about dead bodies, but I don't think they stand on their own.
I think you need to lay them down dead and then let the rigor mortis. Then you
once
can stand
the rigor mortis sets in,
yeah,
then you can stand. I don't know. It's weird. You just threw out a lot of stuff, Dan. We got to back up just a touch. So she pulls out the police files, right? Yeah. And he's like, those aren't mine. And she's like, yeah, they are. And they argue. Here's the problem. I like this. This is hold on. This is a fun little touch because we shouldn't know anything about those files until the end of the movie. For another 15 minutes, then it's a callback to something weird that happened in the movie. Instead, not only have we already seen these files in the police station, but right after this scene, they cut to a police station scene where he slams the files down and they start looking through them. It's like, no. The pacing is that this is a mystery. And you're like, what the fuck are these files? And then later you're like, oh shit, those were the police files. How did they know they had mass hysteria? But we don't have it. So that's upsetting.
See, the problem is mass hysteria doesn't make...
You don't know. You've never had it.
Characters can see.
You've never had it, Dan. And then the other thing I want to say is I know that there are a lot of references to other horror movies in this movie because Joe wanted it to seem like their media brains are what is causing these delusions.
Sure.
And I don't know most of them, but I do know that Dogs, I believe, is from, I think they said The Omen. That's a nod to The Omen. Apparently that's something that happens there. So a lot of the delusions. No, it's not. Something different.
So he owns a dog. He owns a dog, but the dog is like the hound of hell that protects him.
I don't know. They're all, a lot of their delusions are references to other horror movies. That's all I know.
Okay, so everybody starts blaming everybody else, saying who killed her? You killed her. It's one of you killed her. And then Tristan's like, everything is backwards. And then they're like, what we need to do is run the videotapes backwards.
Yeah. Which, by the way, is, I believe that's a reference to The Exorcist.
Oh, okay.
Because I think they play the tape backwards of, what's her name?
Reagan.
Reagan, thank you. And then it says something different. I don't know. Anywho.
Yeah, that's running a tape. It's not running a video.
Right.
You don't run video
I understand. I'm just saying this is what he said he was going for, I believe.
So now we get to see what happened. And what happened is when they were blacked out, they destroyed everything.
Also had a bit of an orgy.
And they had a bit of an orgy.
And so the boyfriend and the Wiccan, they did it. So that's why they're having the visions of doing it, is because they did it. Good for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then one person yells, "What did you make us do?" And you're like, "What did you make us do? You all did a bunch of drugs. You just did a bunch of drugs."
But they're saying that the witch did it behind him.
Okay.
Because she's not even watching the monitor because she's infected with the witch.
And so Jeff has his camera out. He's trying to get everybody to admit that they did it so that he doesn't go to jail.
Just Tristan. That's what they are holding Tristan and like trying to force her to say that she's the witch and that she did it so that the other three don't get in trouble. But the thing is that that's not really happening. Mass hysteria. So
Tristan starts telling them off, and then they're like, "You're the witch." And then I think she wraps the noose around her neck for an unknowable reason. Well, and then Steven pushes her off, and she hangs herself.
Because she's egging him on. She tried to get someone else to do it first, the goth girl, and then she couldn't do it. She's like crying. She's like, "I can't do it." So then the boyfriend's there, and then she's like, push me, blah, you're sackless. I don't remember what she says. She's like egging him on, and then he pushes. He's like, "No," and then pushes her. And that's what you're supposed to think happened, but it's not.
Wait, didn't he push her and she died?
He pushed her. She didn't egg him on. She was begging. In reality, when we cut later to the tapes, they're actually just badgering her, and she's crying and begging them to stop.
Oh, yeah.
You don't care at all about this movie.
Then we get another flashback where they all remember killing the other campers.
Which is unfortunate because in about 5 minutes, you're going to get the reveal in the police department that they killed the campers. So the fact that we already know they did it, that reveal isn't a reveal.
So then we just have a bunch of interrogations. We find out they don't remember anything. And then Steve is like, watch the tapes. They watched the tapes, and basically we found out that Kim killed the store clerk. Jeff, I guess, killed Erica. Did they show Jeff killing Erica?
So they didn't show him killing her, but they showed him naked, picking up her body and dragging her to the closet. And then he steps back in his beautiful physical form. And he's just looking at her in the closet. It's creepy. It's a creepy little scene
that's supposed to be a callback to the weird, the person in the corner.
Correct.
That's supposed to be a callback to that.
Yes.
And then they show the video of Steven, the Erica Tristan not wanting to be killed, and then him killing her.
Yes.
And then I think,
and that's it.
I think Jeff yells the tapes are wrong or something. Maybe was it something like that?
It's the boyfriend. He's like, the tapes are wrong, and then we're supposed to, I assume, cut to credits, but for some reason we cut back to the opening drone shot, and I don't know why we would do that. But it would have been
wouldn't have been as bad.
100%. And that the last 10 minutes of interrogation would be a fun unraveling of what actually happened on those tapes and what we saw happen for the last 75 minutes. But it wasn't.
I gotta put socks on because my feet are getting cold.
Oh, Dan and his blood circulation.
I know. We just started. The cold just started today. It was like the first day of what I consider to be winter cold, where I have to start managing my feet.
All right.
You know what that is?
It's nice out. It's nice out.
You know what that is? That's more interesting than this whole movie. Me talking about the managing of my feet.
Whoa. Listen, there's some good stuff in here, Dan.
Yeah, it's just, it's like, it's kind of sad when you don't get to just even make the terrible movie you're trying to make.
It's gotta hurt. And that's what I will say, is I find the story of the whole situation to be more interesting than the movie itself. Oh, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But again, I do like the idea, and I think that had it had time to be written properly, and then also cast properly, and then also filmed properly, like say not within 5 weeks of all three of those things, I think we could have had a fun movie.
There's an idea here that someone else can make this movie at some point.
Yeah,
nobody need to ever watch this movie again.
I don't think it's the worst movie we've ever done. Someday we should try. I mean, there's too many movies, but we should do like a definitive ranking of our absolute hate watching.
Well, I've got like 250 movies.
It's too many movies. We're too late. We should have done this 200 movies ago.
We should have been keeping track of it as we went along. I mean, do I particularly hate the filmmakers that made this movie? Well, no, because there's like lots of people that worked hard to, it's
sure.
It was. I have a friend and her husband. He suggested this one movie. I guess I think it was a Kevin Bacon movie where he plays somebody with some psychological issues, or like does learning issues, some learning issues. And I was like, yeah, we don't do those kind of movies. We don't do those kind of movies. We didn't do the one where Gary Oldman plays a little person, because
as much fun as that would be to watch, it would be very easy to,
because at a certain point, those movies are generally exploitative. Yes. And to exploit an exploitative movie that's, we understand there's ones that work and do all sorts of good and representation. There's great ways to deal with all that kind of stuff. And we get to see all sorts of, representation just keeps getting better. And it's really quite wonderful when you see something that does those kind of things. And then it isn't even, you don't even think about it. You just have a cast of characters that are built of people of all colors, sizes, and functionality. And you're just like, perfect, this is great. But movies, they're definitely exploitative movies where you do all sorts of weird things. And we don't go after those ones. I don't know why. And I said to him, the movies we like to go after are the movies like The New Haunted Mansion, where they have you have so many smart people, so much money, so much to work with. And you make a movie that is equivalent to this poor 5-week, pile of a mess. At least this movie had an idea in it that is worth exploring. Haunted Mansion didn't even have an idea in it.
No.
It's a kid that needs to commit suicide to make the movie happen. This is your central point that you're getting to is. Here we get to this child's going to have to commit suicide.
And that's the important thing, is that he has to want to. That's not okay. That's not a good movie.
That's not a good movie. That's a bad movie.
Yeah. Brutal stuff.
When you get to central premise stuff like that, you're just like, okay, at least the producers on this movie were like, the kids want Marilyn Manson and they want blood and gore.
Let's give it to them.
At least they had a premise that you're like, well, they're not wrong most of the time.
Yeah, if it works, great. If it's just shoehorned in the 2 weeks before the film comes out, nope, that's no good.
Yeah. So Tony loved this movie because unconditionally, I did not like this movie.
Listen, I think there's some fun stuff here. I think there's a good movie lost in some bad decisions. But the product is not good. But I had fun. I had a good time.
So, Tony, tell us about something you like this week.
Watched. I'll tell you something I watched this week.
You actually watched something you liked? Oh my god.
Nope. No. See, that's why I wanted to make a distinction. I watched something. I don't know if I liked them. Here's what I'm going to say two things because we finished Fall of the House of Usher.
Oh, okay.
And while overall I don't love it like I do some of his other work, I will say the last episode, really good.
Okay.
Really beautiful stuff. It ties together nicely. I still don't care about anyone, which is a fairly big issue for a show about people dying every episode. Yeah. But I do like the way he wrapped it up. It's nice. It's pretty. It's gothic. It's not scary. The show's not scary at all, which I think is it's one of the biggest downfalls of that, because all of his other shows, again, I didn't watch the kid one, but all the other shows are they're scary stuff. They're spooky stuff.
Some spooky, creepy stuff. You know, when you're in the middle of Blind Manor and you start dealing, the characters we care about have to interact with that ghost.
Right.
It's not good. You're like,
it's not good. No.
Things are not going well. And that's why horror movies are generally about making characters you want to care about, because then when something happens to them, you give a shit.
It's kind of the most important thing in horror is that I have to care about you. Otherwise, I don't care about anything that's happening around you. And that's what makes the horror movie. Like, if I don't care about you going through it, I'm not going to be scared. I'm not going to have fun. It's tough. But again, the last episode, really beautiful. Really enjoyed it. And then I watched the pilot episode of The Frasier. It's not a reboot, but I guess like sequel series.
He plays the same character, the same person?
Oh, yeah. It's Frasier Crane. Okay. Most of the other people, all of the other people did not come back. It's a new cast of character. He moves back to Boston where Cheers is, but doesn't go to Cheers or mention Cheers by name. I assume that's like a contract thing. But he's moving in with his son, Freddie. Who is, they do mention him in Frasier. It's like a thing. It's real.
Yeah, okay.
It's horrible. It's really bad.
It's horrible.
He is still great. He is still wonderful. He's firing on all cylinders. He seems to really be having fun. And like, it feels nice. He is surrounded by trash, Dan. I don't, and I think we've talked about this before.
Surrounded by trash.
But for whatever reason, we can't make a multi-camera sitcom anymore. We have forgotten how to do it. All of the acting is over the top.
Schitt's Creek.
Schitt's Creek is a single camera.
Oh, it's a single camera, isn't it?
Yes.
Oh dear.
So but multi is like the Friends and the Seinfelds. Like it's in a studio and you're shooting in front of a live studio audience.
What about Big Bang?
Yeah, Big Bang. Yep. Big Bang is, I think, the last good one that we've had. And that show is,
the show started 20 years ago. How many years ago did that show start?
Because it ran for a very long time.
Wow.
And it's just like How I Met Your Father, garbage, absolute trash. I hate it. I mean, people say the second season got better, but I don't care. You know what I mean? Like, it's too late. You lost me.
It's the new one. It's not the
exactly. How I Met Your Mother. Fine. I don't love that show, but it's a show. It feels like a show. The people feel like people that I'd hang out with. Like, the people in this show, Dan, are not human. We've gotten to this point where sitcom actors are sitcom acting. That's how I feel about it. Like, they're pushing, they're waiting for laughs, and you have to wait for laughs, but you shouldn't feel like you're waiting for laughs.
Sure.
When you deliver the joke, you shouldn't be like, and that's the joke.
Wow.
Right? Like, it feels like they're looking for the laugh, and then they come back to the scene. I don't know what the problem is. Also, the jokes aren't very funny, right? I don't know what's going on, Dan, but we can't make a sitcom anymore, or a multi-camera sitcom. I don't know why, but all of them that have come out are trash.
The skill is lost. It's like lost to the ages.
I think it is, even the writing feels forced. Like there is a formula, right? Set up, joke. Like there is a form, but you have to make that formula not feel like a formula. If you watch a Friends, you can point out the jokes, but they don't feel like, like, oh, here it comes. Oh, here it comes. To me, at least. It feels organic. These people deliver it in a way that's organic, and so it feels okay. I don't know. I need you to watch it. It's on Paramount Plus.
Paramount Plus. I think I have that.
All right, I need you to watch it, and we can talk about it offline. But it's tough.
Did we watch this movie on Paramount Plus?
Yes, that's why I watched it, because when I pulled it up, it was like Frasier. I was like, oh shit! So then I rewatched the original Frasier pilot, and it's just so good. It's just so good.
My boy Todd, he rewatched, I believe, the entirety of the original Frasier, and
it's 11 seasons.
He's like good top to bottom. He loved it. He loved the ending, because I guess it gets crazy at the end.
It does.
He says it holds up perfectly.
Sitcoms, what they do is they gradually the characters get broader. You know what I mean? Like they start relatively normal, but a little broad. But then even with Friends, like by seasons 7 and 8, it's just like, if you started here, it would be unwatchable. But because we've watched these characters grow, it works. Yeah. Same thing happens to that. Like, it's not the characters that go crazy, but the situations get so wild. But you buy it because you're like, we've been on this track. We've been going this way, bigger, and now we're just having fun. But the thing is, the people have to ground it. Yeah. I mean, you get David Hyde Pierce. Is that his name?
Yeah.
That Niles is not a human, right? That character is so neurotic that I believe anybody else plays him, it's not a human. But he's able to do it with charm and this weird snobbery that's also likable. I've never seen it. I hate snobbery, but they do it in a way that's just endearing somehow. And these new people do not. They're just annoying. And then there's the nephew. He's literally trying to do Sheldon Cooper from Big Bang Theory, where he's like, I'm a nerd, blah, 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 but he can't do it. He doesn't feel like a human. He's garbage. I don't know, man. I was real mad last night, the whole night.
Well, you think about Sheldon Cooper, and you're just like,
it's not because Parsons is so good.
It's an Emmy Award winning performance every time he steps out there. It's just
because anyone else in that role doesn't feel human, but he brings whatever it is, whatever that essence is. He's able to bring it and be like, no, you believe me. I could be someone in your neighborhood, and it's weird. I don't know how you do it. Obviously, I don't, because I don't work. But some people have, some people don't, Dan, and these people don't have it. However, I'm still gonna watch it.
Oh yeah, leave us a thumbs up.
It's too late, helpful. Dan. No, it's too late. We're 80 minutes in. It's too late, Dan. You blew it. What did you like? I'm sorry.
I watched something else on Paramount Plus.
Oh, Star Trek. No? Okay. I'll stop guessing.
I haven't gotten into any of the new Star Treks yet.
Even Picard? Did you not watch Picard? I like Picard.
I've watched the thing about... You watched all of them?
No. I hardly watch all of things these days.
Yeah. I watched a movie called Overlord.
Oh, okay. I don't know what that is.
You should watch it. Super fun. Okay. You'll like it. It's a movie. It feels like a movie. It is a movie.
I don't think I'm going to like it, Dan.
World War II.
Oh.
Nazi zombies.
It's great. Yeah, I'm in. Yeah, I like Nazi zombies. That's fun.
This is like, you get to sit down, and it's the whatchamacallit guys that I watch, the Red Letter Media guys, they talked about it. And I was like, what is this movie Overlord that they're talking about? I will watch them talk about this for 15 minutes. And they start, and you're like, they're both like, we enjoyed this movie. You're like, wait, what happened? People enjoyed a movie? It's so surprising when people enjoy like a normal movie. Yeah. And you're just like, it's a normal movie. Everybody can act in it. There's a full script in it. And all the characters are characters. All the things that happen are things that people would do. There's over the top things that are movie things.
As it happens, yep.
But you're just like, I can just sit here and watch an entirety of a movie and just feel like I want to eat popcorn and not be
That's
tested and not have to figure out where the kernel of the movie exists inside them. It's like, just make them, I can't imagine, make a movie. Just make a movie about something. It's not about a kid who wants to have to commit suicide to make it go do a thing and his dad. And what the fridge are you doing? Come on.
But and again, listen, I know I talked to death about it when we actually did Haunted Mansion, but it's not, as weird as it sounds, it's not the fact that the kid is committing suicide. It's that he wants to. You made a child want to kill themselves. That's not okay. If the dad is luring him, I'm on board. That's great. This kid is being like, yeah, this place sucks. I would like to kill myself. No, absolutely not. Never, never, never.
Not an acceptable message for a movie. Even if it's buried in the midst of a terrible movie that doesn't even tell you that that's what this movie's about. That is the theme of the movie. And that's why you like this movie today, is because you found the themes, ones that were interesting to explore.
Right. Did we do it? I don't know. Up to you. But they're there. We got kernels.
So Tony, give us something to watch, something to get us all excited. We're past, I don't know, I mean, we might be going back to horror again. I don't know. Or we might be moving on to a love story or an action adventure, or maybe the Legend of Bagger Vance, where
wait, is that movie bad? I never saw it. Is that movie bad?
It's okay. It's okay. It's an enjoyable movie, but just this whole oh shucks, I'm gonna tell you how to live your life kind of thing. You're like, okay,
oh sure,
little there's a little bit of that in there. I think it's Matt Damon, isn't Matt Damon the golfer?
Well, there's different golfing movies. I thought The Legend of Bagger Vance was Will Smith.
That's Will Smith, but who's the actual golfer?
Oh yeah, you could be right. I don't know. It's been a while.
It's a white guy, and
I never saw it. So
I saw it
because he's the caddy.
He's the caddy. Yeah,
got it. Yeah. I mean, never saw it. I don't know.
And I'll watch it. There's another one too, isn't there? The two golfing with ghosts movies. I think there's another one.
I'm sure you're right.
Okay,
should we do it? Yeah, let's
give us a movie, Tony.
Well, so what I wanted to do is I wanted to just go. I was thinking just clear all of the horror out of your mind, because it's Halloween now for us in
3 days.
I can't do math. 3 days. So by the time we watch this, I'll be done watching horror movies for the year.
Done.
Because I am done. November 1st, no more horror movies. So I wanted to do something that I've wanted to watch for a while. I don't know that it's necessarily a terrible movie. Let's make sure that it is. Now that I'm doing it.
Does it have 61 or 64 or less on Rotten Tomatoes? Then it's a terrible.
It's got 32% critic score, 24% audience score. We're fine. We're right in the pocket, as they say.
Spot.
But I don't know. I've been in a Hemsworthy kind of mood, so I wanted to watch a Hemsworth movie. And this is, I believe it was a Netflix film.
Oh no,
I'm not sure. I don't know. I should stop saying things I'm not sure about. I should have just said the movie. It's Black Hat. I think he's a hacker of some sort. It's going to be great.
Black Hat. Is it Robert Redford? No,
I just told you it's Chris Hemsworth.
But is Robert Redford also in the movie?
I don't believe so.
Oh, okay.
Let me look at this cast list. I mean, I don't see him. If he is, he's way down the list.
Oh, okay. Okay. The Black Hat. I've heard of it.
It's just Black Hat.
All right. He's not the Black Hat?
He's not it's just Black Hat.
John Black Hat? That's not his name?
Yeah. Johnny B is what they call him in the movie, I'm pretty sure.
Okay, we're going to do something called Black Hat, which I guess is going to probably be
2015.
Probably be a thriller, probably be...
Oh, I should have looked at the runtime before I picked it. It's 2 hours and 14 minutes. It's a little long. Jesus. I apologize, everybody.
People, 2 hours and 14 minutes. What are we doing? What, do you really have that much to say? Because we're going to get through this movie and we're going to say, these guys did not have 2 hours and 14 minutes worth of stuff to say.
You're absolutely right. And it is a Netflix movie. I was correct. Okay, that's good.
I think this was like the beginning of Netflix, showing their muscles. They're like, get me Chris Hemsworth or Thor,
Or Thor. Give me the Thor guy.
Well, we're gonna.
I don't know why people didn't like it.
And
I didn't see it, but I wanted to. So here we go.
I mean, I watch a lot of terrible Netflix movies. I don't usually make it all the way through them, but
this time you will, Dan.
This time I'm going to try to. My plan is to get through it.
I like the plan. Listen, if you don't get through it, our episode will just be shorter and people will be happy. So it's fine.
Yes. Okay, so leave us a thumbs up, leave us a comment, subscribe. These are all things you could do. We've been trending up. We've been getting like some of these ones get like 88 and 75. We get some views on some of these things.
But no one's commenting on them.
No, but that doesn't mean anything.
What it means is it's not getting that helps with the algorithm. But we got to put it up top. So you know what we should start doing? We should start posing questions at the top of the show. All right, trick them into saying something.
Will you think about things when you're thinking about things when you go to think about things?
Yes, I will. And then we're skyrocketing.
We're skyrocketing. Okay, so we'll be back with a black hat next week, and we'll see you then. Maybe so.
Goodbye, everybody.
Hey, watch it!